Gert Johannes Ruslia premeditated the murder of his former girlfriend, Elizabeth Magdalene Minnie, or Lisa Marie. On the 29th of October in 2003, he waited for her in the parental home of her new boyfriend, Jaakko Greilen. Whilst he was waiting, he was confronted by Jaakko's brother, Abraham, who he then stabbed to death. A young woman, Eloise van der Westhuizen, accompanied by her 3-year-old son Donovan, arrived at the house to deliver biscuits. He stabbed and killed them both. When Lisa Marie arrived from work, he stabbed and killed her as well. He also stole 2 cell phones which belonged to Abraham and Eloise, as well as Lisa Marie's cell phone, her diary, bank card, and money that she had in her possession. He also stole Eloise's car, which he then later abandoned. Lisa Marie was 19 years old at the time of her death. She and Ruslia became romantically involved during 2001 when she was in grade 11. He had left school and was in search of employment. In February of 2003, after she had matriculated, the relationship was terminated. It was rekindled in April of 2003, and in May of the same year, they became engaged to be married. The relationship was tempestuous, and in August of 2003, the engagement was called off and Lisa Marie finally terminated the relationship. During August of 2003, Lisa Marie developed a new love interest, Jaakko Greilen. He and his brother Abraham lived with their parents. As Lisa Marie's relationship with Jaakko developed, she went to live with the Greilens after her mother had agreed to it. Lisa Marie had intended to live on her own in a flat which her mother had rented for her, but decided against it because of death threats that she received from Ruslia. Lisa Marie worked as a receptionist for a dentist. According to her mother, she was a loving person who served as a role model for her younger sisters. Mrs. Petersha accepted that Ruslia loved her daughter, but did not believe that he was obsessed with her. On the 8th of October in 2003, Ruslia visited Mrs. Petersha and asked her if she thought that there was any hope that Lisa Marie would reconsider her decision to terminate their relationship. She told him that it was up to Lisa Marie to decide. According to Mrs. Maria Greilen, Jaakko and Abraham's mother, Lisa Marie and her son were very much in love. Abraham was 21 years old when he was killed. He was at home on that fateful day because it was his day off from work. Mrs. Greilen was not at home because she and her husband had errands to run. Upon their return, they found Lisa Marie's room in a chaotic state. Lisa Marie was on her bed. She had been gagged, her arms and legs were tied, and a ball had been inserted into her mouth. A steak knife was laying on the ground. Lisa Marie's body was still warm, but she was deceased. She had cuts on her legs and a hole in her chest. Mrs. Greilen described Abraham as a son who was a gift from God. He was very close to her and was sorely missed by the family. As a result of the murders, they could no longer live in the house and were in the process of selling it. Her husband had been asked to testify, but could not face the trauma that would accompany the exercise. Eloise, a family friend, had come to deliver biscuits ordered by Mrs. Greilen when she and Donovan were killed. Mrs. Johanna Grobler, Eloise's adoptive mother, said that she and her husband had adopted Eloise in 1997. Eloise was 23 years old at the time that she was killed. Donovan was her only child. Mrs. Grobler and her husband could not have children of their own. According to Mrs. Grobler, the impact of Eloise's death was such that it was as if she and her husband had been robbed of their own lives. Eloise and Donovan had been loved by everyone in their family. The investigating officer, Inspector DeBell, testified. When he first confronted Ruslia concerning the murders, Ruslia denied any involvement. He stated that he loved Lisa Marie too much to have caused her harm. On the 30th of October in 2003, DeBell was summoned to a hospital in Heidelberg, where he found Ruslia threatening to take his own life. Ruslia was dressed only in a pair of short pants and had cuts on his thigh, both wrists, and his throat. He was wielding a steak knife. After a standoff lasting hours, the police were forced to shoot him in the shoulder to get him to drop the knife. DNA testing linked a cigarette butt and a fragment of nail found at the murder scene to Ruslia, and consequently linked him with the offense in question. Furthermore, blood found on a t-shirt seized by the police was positively identified as Lisa Marie's blood. Dubell found 2 knives at the crime scene that appeared to have been used to commit the murders, but only one was bloody. Post-mortem reports showed that Abraham Khreiling had 3 stab wounds to the chest, 2 of which penetrated the lungs. He sustained a 3rd stab wound to the right shoulder, 1 wound on the left forearm, and a superficial wound close to the left wrist. Eloise's post-mortem reveals that she sustained multiple stab wounds. She had been stabbed 4 times in the chest and twice in the left side of her back. From the size of one of the wounds in the left side of her back, it appears to have been a double stab wound. Eloise was also stabbed in the middle and the right side of her back. One of the stab wounds penetrated her heart and the left lung was pierced twice. 3-year-old Donovan was stabbed 4 times. He was stabbed 3 times in the chest and once in the back. His heart and left lung were pierced. Lisa Marie sustained 8 stab wounds to the chest. 6 wounds penetrated her right lung. Her heart was pierced. She was stabbed in the right leg and in her right thigh. All in all, she sustained 14 wounds, 4 of which were described as superficial. In Ruslia's statement, he said the following. He planned to kill Lisa Marie. He had established telephonically that she had already left for work, and he intended to get to her home before she did. Ruslia's encounter with Abraham was unexpected. First, they exchanged harsh words. Then, according to Ruslia, Abraham pushed him from behind as he made his way to the kitchen door. Ruslia saw a knife which he then grabbed and used to stab Abraham in the chest. Abraham struggled with him, which resulted in Ruslia stabbing him several times until he collapsed. At that time, Eloise, who had arrived with her son, started screaming. Ruslia attempted to quiet them down, but Eloise and Donovan were both hysterical. He did not hesitate to kill them both. He did so to prevent them from identifying him. He used black plastic cable to bind Eloise's arms and legs to make it look like a robbery. Lisa Marie arrived as he was cleaning up the blood and she started screaming. Ruslia forced her into the bedroom and onto the bed where he stabbed her repeatedly until she was deceased. He removed all her clothing and tied her up with plastic cables and an electrical cord. He wanted to create the impression that she had been robbed and raped. Ruslia was sentenced to 20 years each for the murders of Abraham, Eloise, and Donovan. He also received a life sentence for the premeditated murder of Lisa Marie. 4 innocent lives lost because of jealousy. Until next time.